Right now, negotiations are underway in the House to come up with a spending bill to keep the government from shutting down within the next day. Mike Johnson and the House Republican Conference had negotiated a CR, a continuing resolution, which is basically just a stopgap funding bill to keep the government functioning for a few more months. That bill would temporarily raise the debt ceiling, as both parties have done practically forever. And then President Elon and his minion, Donald Trump, decided to intervene. Elon went on a 20-hour tirade on Twitter rife with misinformation, decrying that measure, claiming, for example, that it included a 40% raise for members of Congress, which isn't true, or that the bill would prevent an investigation into those who investigated January 6th, which isn't true, or that the bill funded bioweapons labs, which isn't true. But because his fans are as discerning as my dog is with whatever ends up in his food bowl, they believed him. And then pressure grew and the bill was killed. And of course, Trump joined in. According to NBC News, Trump doesn't want to just lift the debt ceiling, he's keen to get rid of it, telling me in a phone interview that Democrats have said that they want to get rid of it. If they want to get rid of it, I would lead the charge. He sees it as a fake thing, no real value regarding debt control. Which is so weird, because here I was thinking that Republicans were the party of fiscal responsibility. Here I was thinking that finally the adults would be in charge that would get our out-of-control debt under control. Here I was thinking that they meant it when they said that it was a problem that our biggest non-defense line item expense is the interest on our debt. And yet now, before even taking office, the first order of business is to eliminate the debt ceiling altogether. It's almost like, and bear with me here because I'm just trying to put these pieces together right now in real time, they don't actually care about the debt and just spew bullshit to an undiscerning audience on an endless loop because lying is the entire Republican brand. And look, none of this is to say that the debt ceiling is especially important, because ultimately, it's just been a tool that Republicans use to threaten Democrats with while they dangle the prospect of shutting down the government over and over and over. And because Democrats are responsible, they give in every time, including with concessions to the Republicans. In that respect, maybe it's better that the debt ceiling go away. Consider, too, it's not like the debt ceiling actually controls the debt. All we do is raise the debt ceiling over and over and over, and we don't ever do what it takes to get the deficit under control. So that's why the Democratic argument for why the debt ceiling isn't all that useful. But let's think for a moment why suddenly Trump wants to eliminate the debt ceiling. It's actually quite simple. He knows that he's going to blow up the deficit in order to fund his tax cut for billionaires like President Musk, and eliminating the debt ceiling means he won't be accountable to anybody. He won't have to go to the House and get enough votes to raise the debt ceiling next time. He won't have to make empty promises about how getting the debt under control is important. He won't have to be accountable to Republican promises of fiscal responsibility that he doesn't give a shit about. He will be unleashed to spend however he wants, and we know what that looks like. It looks like cutting essential programs while heaping tax benefits onto the ultra-rich like Trump's daddy, Elon Musk. And let's take a look at one of those programs that was just cut to appease President Elon's whim. 7 more years of research funding authorization for the Gabriella Miller Kids First Research Act 2.0, the Give Kids a Chance Act to provide pediatric studies of combination of new cancer drugs, Priority Review Voucher Reauthorization to 2029, the Creating Hope Act, Innovations in Pediatric Drugs Act to provide financial penalties when drug companies do not complete their required pediatric studies, Accelerating Access to Care Act to streamline out-of-state treatment for medically complex kids on Medicaid. We are talking about funding to fight against childhood cancer. The Gabriella Miller Kids First Pediatric Research Program is a bipartisan program allocating $190 million into research to combat childhood cancer, a drop in the bucket in terms of our budget, but a huge resource to research efforts. And now it's gone because Elon needs a tax cut and it's not going to pay for itself. And that's a point that Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia made here. Quote, Donald Trump wants to get rid of the debt ceiling because he wants to essentially pass huge tax cuts to enrich his friends, to enrich Elon Musk and his companies, and redistribute hardworking wealth that middle-class Americans have earned. And so we can have a discussion about the debt ceiling separately. Granted, the Republicans, specifically Trump and Elon, are learning in real time that putting a professional shit poster in charge of the U.S. government isn't exactly a recipe for success. Republicans decided to put that Trump-endorsed continuing resolution on the floor for a vote, the CR that eliminated childhood cancer funding, and surprise, surprise, here's what happened.
On this vote, the yeas are 174, the nays are 235, 1 voting present, 2/3 not being in the affirmative. The rules are not suspended and the bill is not passed.
That's right. President Elon's first attempt at wielding power was a resounding failure, with 38 Republicans refusing to vote for their own party's bill, which prompted this response from Elon himself. A super fair and simple bill was put to a vote and only 2 Democrats in Congress were in favor. Therefore, responsibility for the shutdown rests squarely on the shoulders of Representative Jeffries. Oh man, I gotta say, it's actually kind of funny watching Elon try and deploy the most bargain basement political analysis that would embarrass even an OAN anchor. Dude, look, Republicans are in the majority. You cannot blame the Democrats for not voting for the Republicans' bill. It's not the Democrats' responsibility to bail out the majority party. You guys wanted the gavel. You guys wanted to be in charge. Learn how to fucking govern. The reality is that Trump isn't even in office yet, and they are already broadcasting their inability to run the government. Remember, Republicans are in the majority right now. There is nothing stopping them from implementing their agenda, other than, of course, their own incompetence, and we are learning in real time that that's a pretty insurmountable hurdle these days. So as we barrel toward a government shutdown, here's what that means for the people it'll impact, according to Congresswoman Summer Lee.
Let's talk about how we got here. First, you gotta know, Democrats and Republicans agreed on a bipartisan budget deal to keep the government open. Then President Musk and his empty suit Donald Trump decided they wanted to shut the government down for fun. So now, to shield themselves from blame, House Republicans have abandoned that agreement and rushed through a one-sided last-minute bill. This partisan package isn't about protecting working families at all. It's about paving the way for tax cuts for the wealthy, is gutting Social Security and Medicare, and slashing critical programs like drug price reforms and cancer research. It excludes measures that hold powerful PBMs accountable for their prescription drug price gouging, tackle junk fees, and reauthorize and re-strengthen programs that serve our most vulnerable seniors and children and workers. Republicans are not serious about coming together to an agreement that keeps the government open and serves the people. They want a shutdown. And let me tell you what that'll actually mean, since there's a lot of disinformation out there, especially on Twitter X. A shutdown would have sweeping implications on everything from food on the table to safe holiday travel. In PA 12, almost 10,000 federal workers will be furloughed or forced to work without pay. And these aren't just like faceless government employees. They're our neighbors. They're the ones who are making sure that our grandparents get their Social Security checks, and veterans can access their health care, and families can get housing assistance. Heading into the holidays, they're being asked to keep everything running without a paycheck. Over 10,000 people in our district, 2,200 of them babies, would lose access to WIC benefits if this shutdown drags on. These kids would be without food, and these families are wondering how they pay for a formula. Thinking about holiday travel, air traffic controllers and TSA agents would still be working, but without pay. That means workers would be calling off, which would lead to longer lines, more delays, and a whole lot less security. A shutdown means families could miss out on being together during the holidays. And Republicans delay government funding. Communities that were still recovering from the hurricanes and floods would be left to fend for themselves in the middle of a crisis. But here is, Elon Musk and Donald Trump spreading disinformation. He says a shutdown doesn't actually stop critical functions, and that's easy to say when you're worth $400 billion.
It's clear who Elon and Trump are working for. It's not you, it's not me, it is their tax bracket and no one else. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.